let me ask you a question. Do you think that a Christian photographer has the right to turn down a request to photograph a same-sex wedding? In other words, a same-sex couple comes into a photographer shop and they say, we want you to photograph our wedding. And the guy says, well, no, I won't do it. It's against my beliefs. I'm Christian. Should they be made to do it? Should they be found in violation of the law? Well, let me tell you that 85%, according to Rasmussen reports, 85% think that if a Christian wedding photographer has a deeply held religious belief opposing same-sex marriage and is asked to work a same-sex wedding ceremony, 85% of American adults believe he has the right to say no. Okay? Well, believe it or not, and I know you will, a court in New Mexico, in fact, the Supreme Court of the state of New Mexico, has ruled that 2 Christian photographers who declined to photograph a same-sex union violated the state's Human Rights Act. One justice said the photographers were, quote, compelled by law to compromise the very religious beliefs that inspire their lives. That's a quote. Joining us now to talk about this as the insaneness continues is Jordan Lorence, Senior Counsel and Senior Vice President of the Office of Strategic Initiatives for the Alliance Defending Freedom. Hey, Jordan, how are you?
Hey, it's good to be with you today, Steve.
Well, it's always good to talk to someone from your fine organization. Okay, so this case goes back to what, 2006, and we got Jonathan is the photographer, and we have Vanessa and Elaine are the people getting married, right?
Elaine and John Huguenin are married, and then Vanessa Willick is the lesbian. The other lesbian was from out of state, so she was not a party to this lawsuit.
Oh, so there's two. I got you. Okay, so Vanessa Willick asks. Okay, gotcha. So the couple comes in and asks the couple in charge of that run the photography place to photograph their union.
That's right. It was all done by email over the website. So we even have an exact record of exactly what went back and forth between them. And so there was a request to photograph a same-sex commitment ceremony that was going to take place in the mountains of Taos in the north of New Mexico. And Elaine said, because of her Christian beliefs, but what she wrote was, she said that we do not photograph same-sex commitment ceremonies. And even though the couple got another photographer, had their ceremony, were satisfied with what the photos they got, they nonetheless filed a complaint with the New Mexico Human Rights Commission, and which had a trial and found Elaine Photography guilty and fined them ordered them to pay $6,700 in attorney's fees to the lesbian who complained. And we've been appealing this case ever since. And this is our latest loss. We've lost every step of the way, and the New Mexico Supreme Court joined in. And we're hoping, if we haven't made the final decision, if we appeal this to the Supreme Court will right this wrong.
You're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court, obviously.
That's right.
Now, based on the fact, before we even get to what the lesbian couple, they were able to get their wedding photographed or their union photographed at a cheaper price even. But before we get to that, the fact that the judge wrote, one of the judges wrote, that your clients were, quote, compelled by law to compromise the very religious beliefs that inspire their lives. It didn't write that, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Does that open up a whole new avenue of appeal for you?
Well, not in a technical procedural sense, but it is part of the case, so we can cite to it. There was only one of the 5 justices who wrote that, so it's not the law of the case.
What was the ruling? Was it unanimous or?
It was a unanimous ruling.
Wow.
There's a main opinion, and then this is an additional concurring opinion that this guy wrote to basically show that he understood that these are deeply held beliefs that the Huguenins have, but about the definition of marriage, but that in a free society, these beliefs have to give way. The problem with his thing is that the couple could easily defer and adjust to the beliefs of the Huguenots. That there's no requirement, that there's no constitutional right or even statutory right that you can get the photographer you want the way that this was done here. So that I just think that his assertion that the lesbians' rights trump the Christian photographer's rights is debatable at best and just plain wrong at worst.
Yeah, I mean, as you, so basically they're saying that gay rights trump religious beliefs.
Yes.
And is that the way the law is written? Is there a precedent for this thing, or is this a precedent-setting case? Because I know there have been bakers and others who have come under fire, and maybe your organization has even represented some of them. I do not know how far they went legally, but I remember talking about them, possibly with you, about they've been put in the same position. So tell me about is there precedent for this?
No, there is not. This is and ADF is handling many of those cases. I think some other groups are doing some of the other ones, but all of them are in very early stages of their proceedings. This Elaine photography case is far more advanced through the court system and is leading everybody else, just because it's been around for 6 years or 7 years, and that's where we are. We think that the court precedents, the only court precedent that really comes close to this is the Boston St. Patrick's Day Parade case, which was also found to be a public accommodation, a business under Massachusetts law that was prohibited from discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation. And the Supreme Court ruled you cannot force the parade organizers to allow a group in to say a message that they don't agree with, which was about Irish American homosexual group that they had. So here we have that precedent just basically being, they just said it doesn't apply here, and you lose. And I think it's more the spirit of the times that that many people who support redefining marriage say that they're on a roll, it's inevitable, they're going to win, and now they're adding to that, and the dissenters have to keep silent or be publicly punished if they do anything to act on their beliefs that marriage is only one man and one woman. And we're saying that the First Amendment allows dissent. It allows differences. It allows people, even if they operate for-profit businesses, to say, no, I in good conscience can't make a message that same-sex marriage is okay. Even though I earn my money being a photographer, I can't tell that story in good conscience, and the First Amendment protects that.
Yeah, you would think so. We're talking to Jordan Lorence, Senior Counsel, Senior VP for the Alliance Defending Freedom. He was the attorney involved in this case in New Mexico, where last week the Supreme Court there ruled that the two Christian photographers who declined to photograph a same-sex union violated the state's Human Rights Act. And again, the stunning writings of one judge saying that the photographers were, quote, compelled by law to comprise the very religious beliefs that inspire their lives. But this is somebody who voted for it. It almost sounds like it was somebody lamenting. It was written as someone lamenting the fact that these poor people would have to do that they would have to, compromise the very religious beliefs that inspire their lives. Was it written in the broader context? Was it written in a facetious manner, a non-sympathetic manner, or a sympathetic manner? How did this particular justice mean it? Because at first glance, taken in and of itself, if you didn't know how the judge ruled, you would think the judge was sympathetic to the two photographers.
Well, I think you're picking up on kind of an interesting nuance. And the only way that I know this justice is for being participating in an hour of back and forth oral argument at the New Mexico Supreme Court last March. This is the way, from the spirit that he was talking to me, was like it would be like somebody putting their hand on your shoulder and saying, hey, look, buddy, I realize the clients you represent are sincere Christians. They have all these beliefs, and I acknowledge that. And I'm not going to call them bigots. This is what they've learned in church. But look, I got to give you a reality check here. We're in a new society, buddy, and your rights, your beliefs have to give away to the rights of others. They just have to give way. That's the price you pay as citizenship. So I'm just speaking some hard truth to you, and take it in. And I think that that's kind of the attitude that he's having with us. Now, I think it's both chilling that he says you have to give up your rights, but what we are going to talk about if we appeal this case to the Supreme Court is point out that he acknowledged that these aren't just rank bigots full of hatred. That these are people that are acting on their beliefs and saying, look, we'd rather not participate. Now, what he's saying is if you go into the world of business, you surrender your rights to say no based on your conscience. And what I think is wrong with that is the liberals are acting like they would never confront a situation as business owners where they would say, I in good conscience can't do this. I mean, what if a photographer gets asked to do a shoot of the president of the Alliance Defending Freedom? I could see some liberal photographers saying, I just would rather not do that. I don't want to promote the goals of your organization.
Right.
Or what if it's a Westboro Baptist wedding, calls up the liberal photographer? Or any photographer for that matter. Right, yeah, exactly. So the point is that there are situations where they're going to sneak up. It's not like people work out all their beliefs in advance. They say, you know what, I don't know about this. I just in good conscience can't participate, even though my business would normally, be able to help you out. I just can't in good conscience help what you're doing here. If Elaine Photography loses, then everybody loses because the right disappears. If somebody espousing a position that is unpopular isn't protected, nobody's protected.
I got to tell you, I'm glad I picked up on that nuance because it was a little perplexing to me because like I said, it sounded sympathetic, but I'm glad you put it in proper context with the buddy and the arm on the shoulder. I could actually see that happening as you painted that picture. Well, listen, so when do you think you guys will decide, and what would be holding you back from taking it to the Supreme Court? Because I don't think you indicated that you or they have made up your collective minds yet.
We are waiting for the approval from the clients to move forward. We are seriously considering it, and I'm just doing the lawyer dance here because I got to get the word from the clients to move forward.
Well, what has been the talks like? Do you think that what's the chance here, 1 to 10, that they'll move forward?
I think it's highly likely we'll move forward. We have 90 days from when the decision came down last week to file a cert petition appealing the case to the Supreme Court. I expect that would be, mid or late November.
Right. And how do finances come into it? I mean, you guys provide this gratis, but you rely on donations. So if I'm correct, give certainly the website so that people listening who are sympathetic to your cause, this cause, and other causes like it, could assure that you guys stay in existence and are able to help people like your clients who probably couldn't afford to do this on their own.
Yeah, it's alliancedefendingfreedom.org or just teladf.org, and we could use your prayers, any financial help, and we are standing up for many of these cases. Elaine Photography happens to be the first one, but they're not getting help from anybody else, and I think we've got to stick together, and that these discrimination laws are being misused in these kinds of cases in a way to punish dissenters in a way that is authoritarian and not the way the United States of America's Constitution says how we should operate.
Absolutely. And next up will be hate speech, and I'm pretty sure that's coming down the road too. Hey, really good work. Thank you, and keep us informed on what's next. We'll be following it in the news, and we'll have you back, Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Sure.